All right, we are back with your views and my facts. We're having a nice discussion with Sean, who's been on here before, as well as Jeremy, who's a new guest, but I'm sure he'll end up being a regular on the podcast. He is a improv comedian, to put it lightly. Now, it is not his full-time job. He does this on the side, which he loves to do.
Yep.
But he does this as part of the Anti-Cooperation League, which is at the Comedy Spot in Sacramento, California. So go ahead and look them up and go find Jeremy performing and then just ridicule him for any shenanigans that he has said on the show. Tell him how bad he does.
Sure.
And again, you can also find him on Twitter at
Jerbreedlove. JERBREEDLOVE.
There you go. Sean, if anybody wants to find you, how can they find you?
You can't. Don't worry about that.
Oh, they can't?
No.
Okay.
Dude, what happened to that butter? You had that butter voice. You're a super like chill dude, and I don't worry about that.
Hey, is your wart on my table?
No.
It looks like it's on my table. Don't be getting...
Dude, there's
You
not
just
even
told me
a
you have Windex,
Band-Aid
man.
on it.
You're okay. It's
Do-
not contagious.
I meant to-
Windex doesn't like kill wart germs.
Are you sure?
Well, I've
Yeah, man.
got hydrogen peroxide and
he's
some
got the
409 cleaner, and
We'll make it work.
I'll pour some.
This is
UV,
nice glass
a
surface,
UV
okay?
light.
Pour some pure ammonia on it. Do you want me to go get you a Band-Aid?
No, we're good. But to be fair, this is nice glass, clean surface that we're podcasting on, so I think it's fine.
Well, hopefully you don't get infected.
I guess the rest of the guests will find out when they get warts or not.
That's true. That's true. I'm gonna
We'll keep an eye on it.
have to put a hazard symbol over there.
We'll
For the next guests, don't sit at the seat closest to the window.
put some hazard tape around the seat.
So if you're wondering about Sean's wart, probably have to tune into part 1 of the series, and if you don't care to listen to the whole thing, which I hope you do, because it was very entertaining, and Jeremy is a great guest and a great speaker. But you can just kind of fast forward to the end, and then you can kind of hear about Sean's wart problem.
His distractingly large elbow wart.
It's crazy. I don't know how you have not fixed that.
I've tried, man.
He's almost displaying it at this
Listen,
point. Like he's
Yeah, he says he has tried.
I've gotten the shit frozen off before. I've gotten it cut off, and it just keeps coming back. What can I do?
they didn't do a good job, man.
I know. It's military doctors.
And you can go there as many times as you want, so I just don't believe it.
Yeah, but I'm a busy
Freeze it
person.
again, freeze it again, freeze it
I
again,
know.
burn it.
I gotta go back like every week, every 2 weeks. It's a lot. It's hard to make all these appointments, man.
Have you tried like just over the counter, like the wart remover that you just like?
I'm not paying for that shit when I have free healthcare.
Sure,
Which obviously
man.
isn't
That's up
working
to
for
you.
me, but
But you were just saying that like the military doctors
it.
weren't working.
Well, if I can have my way, the only free healthcare that you would have would be from the military.
okay. That is the only free healthcare in the United States right now.
Good. That's the way it needs to stay.
Except for like Medicare and Medicaid, but
Yeah, that you get when you're 72.
so I had a question for you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about your worst experience,
Yeah.
and that part intrigues me the most. So as far as hecklers go, or has anybody been kicked out of your spot for like being too overly? Have there been any fights? Have there been any like people getting on stage when they shouldn't, like craziness?
No,
Just curious.
nothing like that. It's a funny thing. Like
It's in the middle of like downtown where
Yeah.
there's like a lot of bars. People
Yeah.
probably get drink and then they go.
Don't get me
So I
wrong,
was
like
curious.
we've had people that are like drunk in the
Right.
audience, right? But for some reason, people's brains just switch to a different gear when they're watching improv, and there's a lot of stuff going on, right?
So they're
and
distracted.
like everybody understands when you're doing stand up, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like a setup, punchline, etc., right?
Right.
Like in improv, you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Okay.
So the audience has to pay attention if they want to get what the joke is.
Because I've seen some stand-up like comedians talk offline
Yeah.
about like having to get people kicked out, people
Mhm.
getting too crazy.
Yeah.
and so that's
It just
really interesting.
it's a very weird thing that it's hard to wrap my brain around, that they just don't heckle. Like every once in a while somebody will throw in like a suggestion or something like that, right?
Yeah, but that's not too bad.
No, not at all. It's super easy.
And that at least tells
And-
you they're interested and like they're engaged and they want to be engaged.
Kind of, yeah.
which-
So we kind of just kind of throw that off or just kind of ignore it a little bit, but like it's nothing like stand up, you know.
Okay.
I like it that way, you know, because it's and that just kind of the nature of the type of comedy that we do is people need to pay attention if they want to get anything out of the show.
How big are the audience typically at places like this?
I've
I've went once, and
Yeah.
but I can't remember how big the audience was. I mean, probably like 30, 40, 50 people? Like it's one room.
Oh, like definitely more than that. Yeah,
Oh, is it?
I would say probably like 100 or
Okay.
more, especially for like ACL or something
Okay.
like that. Our Friday, Saturday shows
Yeah.
are usually
I
pretty
just couldn't remember how
full.
big the room was when I went. It was
Yeah.
a long time ago.
Yeah, Sean. I mean, they're big league. They are part of the longest running comedy show in Sacramento.
I get it, but I thought it was
And we
kind
just
of
got
a
number
smaller-
one, man.
Number
on
number
what-
one
on
out of
what?
9.
SacramentoCityVoter.com. Yeah, they got it. So we,
And that's a person, like anybody can vote for that, right?
yeah, anybody, yeah,
So everyone's going to vote for you next time too.
maybe,
Well, everyone's listening to this podcast.
hopefully, they should.
Or
'cause-
we should go on there, right, to City Voter and ask them to provide the IP addresses of who voted, because maybe it was just the ACL guys.
Set up some like bot that's voting
just all of them,
every-
like
every
everybody.
10 seconds.
Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely voted for the comedy spot, but that's not because I'm just like I'm a part of it.
You can
It's
set up
because
like a
I
macro
really
that's voting
like
every 10 seconds.
the comedy spot. It promotes local comedians. It promotes comedy in general by doing classes and all that stuff. You know,
So out of the other 8 that were on the list, how many of those had you been to?
I've been to Punchline before. I've been to Comedy Sports.
Okay.
I haven't been to Laughs Unlimited. Trying to think what the other ones are. There's some other ones out there, like I think it's like Tommy T's or something like that. But
All right, so
those
you-
are like the major ones,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. So you've at least been to a few of the other ones,
Yeah.
right? So even
Yeah.
though that you might be somewhat biased,
Sure.
you at least have.
Yeah, I've been to
have
the other
something to
ones, right?
reference.
The other thing is that like a lot of the like, for instance, Punchline, right? Stand-up comedy. I don't know a lot of other like comedy that they do there, right? Maybe like some musical comedy or something like that. But like we do improv, sketch, stand-up. We do. We have a musical every month. We do like an improvised musical called You the Musical. It's the coolest thing you'll ever see.
Do the musical?
No, You the Musical.
Oh, You the
Yeah.
Musical.
Have you ever been on
Yeah.
that?
I haven't. I would really like to though.
Is it an improv musical or is it just
It's an improvised musical.
Wow.
So like they improvise the musical numbers and the audience kind of fuels the beginning, right? So like they tell like, what's the title of this musical, right? And the
The
audience
Sound
is
of
like,
Music.
Sure, yeah. And what else? I mean, they get a few suggestions from the audience, and then they just go off and they do their like a freaking full-fledged. There's like 4 or 5 songs in it. It's awesome. I've been a couple times. It's awesome.
I got to tell you, I love musicals,
Yeah.
and I think most musicals do have a comedy element to them.
Yeah.
A majority of them, but yeah, I love them.
Yeah. They're good.
Yeah,
What's your favorite musical?
my favorite one,
Yeah.
The Phantom of the Opera.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
The funniest of the musical.
That's the funniest of them.
I was joking.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, look, I enjoyed Phantom of the Opera.
I think you've recommended that one to me before.
Yeah,
so.
Les Mis, Newsies, The Sound of Music,
Grease.
Grease.
I think Grease is the first one that you've said so far that's actually like a comedic
Yeah,
musical.
you're right. I might have to retract my statement.
Les Mis is totally hilarious.
But there are some ones that are pretty funny for sure. Grease is one of them. Wicked has some pretty comedic like elements to it. You know, I'm a fan of musicals for sure.
That High School Musical. Ever heard of? Is that pretty funny?
What?
Is that one pretty funny?
What?
That
I don't know,
Musical
man.
that
I
you
don't
guys
even
haven't
know what
seen
you're talking about.
I
But
don't even consider High School Musical
look,
like an actual Broadway.
I guess
musical.
I don't know where I was coming from with this comedy piece. So I will retract my statement. But for whatever
you don't
was
have
in
to
my
retract
head,
it.
I was
It's
just
okay.
I was just thinking about like maybe I guess just funny portions of everything as a whole, and I just blurred them all together. All right, would Willy Wonka be considered a musical?
Willy Wonka.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Sure,
there's
yeah,
a
I
lot
could-
of songs in there, but I don't think it's
Yeah.
classified as a musical.
No, I don't think
But
so.
there are funny moments in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so. I guess that's where I was going
Yeah.
with. Like, it's just there are funny things.
I think there's like funny elements in a lot of musicals, you know, like if you Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, that has a lot of funny things in it. Wicked has some funny things in it, even though I don't think Wicked is actually a comedy like musical. The Book of Mormon, that's a definite musical. That one's so funny, man. I love it.
Wait,
That was really good.
I heard something recently about that, and that's that the Church of Mormon or the church actually
Church of Mormon.
whatever they actually put a bunch of advertisements
Yeah.
during that movie.
Yeah,
so they're kind of understanding they're making fun of them, but they're willing to accept it, which is kind of funny to me. It's entertaining.
oh well, that's good.
Yeah. It was like you've seen the musical, now read the
And-
book, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, look, and I want to get into why that should be done. So we're going to go into some milestones and breakthroughs of comedy in life or in the world. And so coming straight from the Columbia Encyclopedia on comedy. So comedy is a literary work that aims primarily to provoke laughter. Unlike tragedy, which seeks to engage profound emotions and sympathies, comedy strives to entertain chiefly through criticism and ridicule of man's customs and institutions. Look, I didn't write it. It says man's. All right, that is a generic term right now.
Big
okay,
M.
for man and well,
Like
this
mankind.
is a little M.
Disclaimer. Just
But
a
yeah,
little
I don't.
disclaimer.
Yeah, I don't want to be yelled at right later. Just so there's a little then more of a baseline. And again, I don't want to get too much into a history lesson.
Sure.
Here, right? Because I don't want to lose anybody. But do you know comedy's history? Jeremy?
Probably not as much as I should.
Probably not as much as me. But then again, I just researched everything.
Yeah, you may have some research. Hit us with it, man.
Well, look. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but dramatic comedy grew out of the Greeks.
Yep.
Then it went through the Middle Ages with the church, which tried to keep it tame. Mm-hmm. It went through the Renaissance, where a new and vital drama emerged. Then we got into England, right during the 18th century, where some satire and witty character comedies,
William Shakespeare,
were thrown
stuff
out.
like that.
That British comedy.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that British comedy. And then we had got into like the 20th century, where now there are distinct trends that are going through with sophisticated and witty comedy of manners, and so forth, yada yada yada. So, like I said, I don't want to. If you want to read more about it, again, you guys can research it yourself.
What do they consider like
online.
nowadays comedy? Like today's comedy, what do they consider that era? When did that era start? Do we know?
Yeah, at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st
So it's been that
century.
long, okay.
It's still being written.
All right.
Ass. But yeah, so there was it is thought that comedy, right, is funny because it is a violation of our social constructs, which are the functions of the ego and the superego that make people laugh.
Yeah, I can see that.
You would agree with that?
Yeah.
Stand-up.
Especially stand-up, a lot of times stand-ups talk about things that people think about but don't want to talk about, Kind of lets them...
laugh off something that they're not usually allowed to
lets them
laugh at.
kind of admit that they think those things because they laugh at them at those
Or that
things,
sometimes serious things are funny.
Yeah.
But we're not really allowed to laugh at them, but they are funny if seen from a certain light or when they're taken too seriously.
Like you've heard that phrase tragedy plus time equals comedy?
No.
It's kind of a phrase, right?
It's like kind of where they came up with like the whole too soon thing.
Well, kind of, sure, yeah, but like if you think about like people have like 9/11 jokes and people have like Abraham Lincoln jokes
too
and
soon,
people
too soon,
have
man.
like but
Not
some
too
would
soon.
say not too soon.
No, that's
not,
my point.
you know?
Though, is like that's where that came from.
Yeah.
I think.
But
Look, yeah. I mean, the premise of it is that it is intended to make an audience laugh.
yeah.
Right. And it is whatever you might find humorous or amusing. And we're going to get into some people that ended up breaking some of these barriers to where we are now.
Yeah.
But one of the definitions of comedy, which I found key, is the kind of what you guys were just talking about, or at least Sean that just brought up, right, about maybe something being too soon or whatever the case may be, is that so you have definition of comedy then a play characterized substitute play for just whatever improv stand up. So a play characterized by its humorous or satirical tone and its depiction of amusing people or incidents, in which the characters ultimately triumph over adversity. And I think it is that last part of that definition which people forget.
Sure.
Right? So we may be making fun of an incident, a class of people, whatever it is that you'd want to state, but it's that last piece, right? That normally it's because you did prevail. So
You don't make fun of people when they're down in the dirt. You make fun of something once they've come out of that and they've, that's kind of what you're saying.
Right, yeah. So before...
Or you can have comedy to bring people out of the dirt, if that makes sense, To like leave the world behind and laugh at the life, at reality, right?
Do you think there's ever anything off limits?
No. And I mean, you know me. I'm a when it comes to like off limits kind of stuff, I'm a pretty conservative guy. I'm
Right.
not super liberal when it comes to that kind of stuff, right? But comedy is important to me, and so I don't think it should be stifled by, oh, that's too much or that's blah blah blah.
Okay, let me try to recage your mind here.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the example in my head is that you have, because I can't think of any better way to explain it, so please forgive me, but right, like somebody that actually is a retard or has cerebral palsy
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. Are those off limits if you're just I guess, is there a difference between something that's off limits and attacking a person?
I don't think there's anything off limits.
Yeah.
The key here is,
I'm not saying right or wrong answer
right,
here. I'm just
here's what I think the key is. The key is it funny, right? Like, is it something that people are going to laugh at? Is it something that people collectively are thinking is funny, right? Because one guy can think something's funny, that doesn't
Yeah.
make it funny. For him, it does. But like overall, no. So if you make fun of somebody like that's retarded to their face, right?
I've got a great example.
There's a
and I
way.
can't wait
There's
to
a way you
expose
can
this.
do that, right? There's a way you can do that so that person isn't disparaged, you know, so
Right.
that person isn't like disrespected. You know what I'm saying? But if there's a person that is retarded in the audience and a comedian makes a joke about a retarded person, right?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I agree.
He isn't necessarily talking about this person. He's making a joke, and if it's funny, then it's comedy. It may not be a comedy that somebody likes, you know? It's a very subjective thing, you know? It's like something... I don't think there's a lot in the world that is objectively funny. It's just... You may think it's funny. You may think it's screwed up, you know?
I think most things are funny.
Yeah.
And I love turmoil, people being just brought down to the dumps. Because all I know is that then I can maybe elevate myself.
So what I've seen is that, at least with stand-up, and the stand-up I've seen, is that
Yeah.
depending on who you are, whether that's gender or race, you're allowed to talk about certain things. So
Yeah.
everything can be talked about in comedy.
Yeah.
It's just you don't want to be that white guy up there talking about like black oppression or something like.
There are people that can pull it off.
Some people do pull it off, but you have to be very careful when you start entering those realms because
Yeah.
a lot of comedians have been hammered really hard in the past for
Yeah.
joking about something that they thought was going to be good and then ended up being very negative on them. But that was just because maybe they pulled it off wrong.
Yeah.
Or
That's
they
exactly
weren't the
why.
right person, or it wasn't the right time.
It's hits and misses, man. You got to
and all comedians are brave. I mean, you have to go out there and you have to try to kill it. But like, if
you're putting
if you come
yourself
off-
out there.
And right, I would say, and it's making sure. You're right. I don't agree that anybody should be faulted, right, for doing whatever comedy skit they want to do, as long as you don't blur the line between the comedic routine or the skit and making people laugh, and then pushing a agenda.
Sure.
Right. I think that's where. So I don't think
Yeah.
you should be able to get on there and say, well, we need to go back to black oppression.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you can make a punchline off of that, but if that makes any sense, like
Well,
you
another
got
thought
to
line
have a clear.
would be if you type it out on a piece of paper and you had this other person say it, would it be funny? Like this person says it and it's not funny, but
I don't think that it has to do with the person, because for instance, like
Okay.
let's
The
bring
delivery?
up Louis C.K. Okay, because Louis C.K. has made jokes in the past about the N-word, right? He's actually made a joke about people saying the N-word, quote unquote the N-word. They're like, don't make me say that in my head.
I
Like,
think
you
I
just
remember
made me say that in my head, right? That's a joke, right? And he actually says the word
Yeah,
in
I
that
think
bit,
I remember
right?
that.
And people laughed at that. That's
because he delivered it.
yeah, because Louis C.K.
perfectly.
has been doing it for freaking 20 plus years. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that like somebody else typing it and Louis C.K. saying it is
Okay, I understood.
because
yeah.
here's the thing is Louis C.K. wouldn't say it, right?
That makes more
because
sense.
if it's funny, Louis C.K. is going to be able to say it because he's been
Right.
doing it forever, right? He's going to be the one that writes it. He's not going to say somebody else's jokes. I'm not saying that there are stand-up comedians that don't do that, because there are,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's the delivery and it's the joke itself. And I don't think it has anything to do with like the person, right?
Yeah, Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Right, when he broke through, then made comedy cathartic. Now, is everybody familiar with that word?
Catharsis, cathartic.
Yeah, cathartic.
I mean, in a general sense, I know it.
Yeah. So
like cathartic, like it makes you feel good. Like it makes you feel like
yes.
Yeah.
That's basically it, right? It's being able to maybe talk about something. It's the relief of getting feelings out there, and maybe other people get relief from
Exactly.
it. So he's been able to do, to do that, and that was a major breakthrough in comedy.
Sure.
And I think you just referenced that and said it really well in that if somebody, right, like him, he's being able to talk about a topic that, well, this is what I'm thinking about. Like, don't make me think that because this is, and everybody's like, yeah, that's what we think about too.
Yeah.
But we don't intend it to mean anything.
Or we don't even know that we think that until somebody else brings it up and you're like, holy shit, I think about that all the time and I don't even know it.
Right.
Right? That's like pure genius comedy.
Right.
You know? If you can make somebody think about something that they didn't even know they were thinking about in the first place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Louis C.K. is one of my favorite stand-up comedians.
So I guess what I'm taking from this is that when people bring up something, when a comedian gets hammered for something that they did that was wrong or inappropriate, it wasn't that they necessarily broached an inappropriate subject; it's that they did it.
They didn't do it. They didn't do it in a way that made people laugh. They didn't do it in a way that hit.
But sometimes things fail.
Yeah.
Now, what if you're not a comedian? Mm-hmm. Right. So I say, like, what if you're not a registered comedian?
Sure.
Can you still make jokes?
Yeah, heck yeah, you can.
Okay. Now, let me ask you both a general question here. And I want you guys to do your best job of this. Right. Jeremy, I know you've done this once before because I was at the damn Christmas party.
Okay.
So, if you had to do your best impression of me, whether it's a saying, a phrase, whatever it may be, and because I think you probably have some good things that are in your head, Sean. I want you to think about it for a minute, and that's you have something as well. But now I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you have to do it in my voice.
I got you.
But if you could, what would you do? Or I don't do it because the people can't see what you're doing.
You're kind of doing it right now.
Okay,
you're
go ahead.
Doing it right now. You're just like, well, and your shoulders come up. And you get this like grin on your face.
Yeah,
that's TJ to a T, in my opinion.
Well, I just did it, everybody, in case you were wondering. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this, so thank you for that, Sean.
All right, so there's two that I can think of right now.
They better be tied for one.
Well, one is listen, bitch. And he will point at you with his entire hand. Not just a finger, but an entire hand. Because he's usually, this is in the middle of like a heated debate. And he's tired of listening to you saying something because what you're saying is wrong. So he just cuts you off. He's like, listen, bitch. Points at you with his hand.
He could be having a hypothetical question, too. He could be having a hypothetical conversation with somebody and still say it and still point to the air.
Oh, yeah.
Not even pointing at anybody. Just pointing at nothing.
And this is also typically when people start thinking, "Is this guy drunk?" Like he's getting really angry over here.
It's just 10 in the morning.
Yeah, he's had one beer, but I don't know. Maybe he's had 12. Maybe we should kick him out of this party.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. So hand gesture, got it.
Another one is one of my new favorite quotes, and that's "Who's to say?"
Who's to say?
TJ likes to say, "Who's to say?"
Yeah.
You know?
You got the quotes down for sure.
That's his favorite quotes.
I think I got the mannerisms, and you got the quotes down for sure. So, I mean, I got a quote in there, but
all right, where I wanted to go with this, do you guys think then that, and we just said nothing was off limits.
Yeah.
So do you guys think that it was wrong for Donald Trump then to do the mocking of the reporter? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's a good
You're talking about the mentally disabled thing? That people claim that he was making fun of a mentally disabled person,
right? If I'm not,
the claim is that he wasn't.
Well, yeah. Yes, if I'm correct in what I've read,
explain what we're talking about.
True. Yeah. If I'm correct in what I've read, he's not retarded.
Mm-hmm. No,
his hands are.
He's got a disability.
Yes.
Yeah. He has like a legitimate disability.
Yes.
Here's my take on it. Right.
Okay.
I don't think Trump was trying to be funny, and I don't think he was trying to do comedy. I think he was trying. Here's the thing. Mockery can be comedic, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that he was mocking that person in jest or in a comedic way. I think he was just mocking him. And who's to say? Because he's come out and said multiple times, I wasn't doing that.
Who's to say?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Get some shirts made.
Hashtag.
Hashtag who's to say. Because he said multiple times that like he wasn't actually like disparaging the person or he wasn't making fun of the disability. He was just kind of pantomiming confusion or panic or something like that. I don't think that that's the case at all, because if Joe Blow down the street can say, "Oh man, it seems like he was mocking that reporter," that's one thing. So again, I don't think anything's off limits, but I also don't think that he was being comedic in doing it. I think he was just being a dick. That's all.
Okay.
He was just being a dickhead.
I don't remember. I'm sure I did see this, like the video of it or whatever, but it's been a while. But I feel that he sets himself up for being ridiculed for this because of the fact that he does go out there and he kind of does attack / ridicule the media and certain individual reporters. He has called out individual reporters in the past, and he's kind of made kind of a attack on reporters and different companies. So he sets himself up for being, like, misconstrued, even if he wasn't meaning that.
Right.
The fact that he does put himself out there.
So, TJ's take. Thank you guys for your views. Now let me give you the facts.
Oh, let's hear the facts. Let's hear the facts.
You enjoyed that. That was good, right?
I like that.
You're welcome. All right. So, I don't think that people necessarily thought that he was trying to make fun of him. Mm-hmm. What he was doing was he was showing how the guy naturally is. So that's why I asked you, how would you guys describe me? So if I need you to do an impersonation, that's what the guy, right? That's how he looks when he walks, right? It's not putting him down. That's it. I'm sorry. That's what he was describing. Okay. Now the other piece, what was funny about it, at least to me, my dog is bothering Jeremy.
He's back on my leg, licking it like nobody's business.
Looks like your
and
arm.
my arm.
So the funny part isn't that I never once thought that he was making fun of him.
Yeah.
What was funny was just how Trump looked doing it. Right? That was funny to me because Trump made himself look stupid, right? And looked silly and so forth. But that's why I wanted to ask, A, if anything's off limits, B, how would you describe somebody? Because that is initially how I saw it. If I needed to, hey, go find the man on the corner of the street, right? That's shaking his left leg, and I kind of do that motion, like, yeah, this is what he's doing. I'm not making fun of. That's how you're gonna find him. You want to know what guy I'm talking about? This dude.
Kind of, but
I
don't know if we can classify that as a fact, though.
No, but let us know what you guys think, though. What's your guys'
because you were like,
on this?
I think
Trump,
blah blah blah.
Trump, if you agree with me, and I'm hitting the nail on the head. Hashtag views and facts. Let me know how I'm doing.
Yes, I mean, but even then, hindsight's 20/20.
Okay,
of course, yeah. That's
well, hindsight is 20/20.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Here's the second thing, right? When you had us describe you, we already all agreed that it was going to be in jest, right? Like it was already coming.
I didn't agree to that.
First of all, we're talking about comedy this whole podcast, right?
Who's to say? The name of the episode.
You. So that's my take on it,
Hashtag,
right? Is I think that it's two different situations, right? I don't think that I was describing you. I think that I was in jest describing you. Does that make sense? There's
Sure,
a difference in jest and a difference in mockery. I don't think that he was describing the guy, because you can describe a guy by just saying it.
Okay. Well, what is the where's the fine line between mockery and description then?
I think it's context. I think that it's the situation.
Well, I thought the
that you're in.
situation was okay where he was at. I
And
didn't think
that's
anything.
fine.
Well, that's your view.
That's fine.
Fact.
That's fine.
You guys take
I
that
think
how
that
you
we-
will. If
yeah.
I just said that it was a fact that it was my view, or that I was saying that it was a fact. Look, again, fine, whatever. That's not.
That's fine. It's still in the comedic realm. Because
yeah.
some people might think that he was doing it in jest or whatever. That's fine. I think that he was mocking. I think that it was in poor taste, even if it was trying to be comedic. And I don't think that was a hit at all.
And like we were talking about with the whole other piece, maybe he just didn't deliver it right.
Maybe I don't think he was trying to deliver a bit.
I know, but if he
I
was
don't-
trying to
that's-
deliver a bit,
that's
he
my
definitely
thing.
didn't
Like,
deliver it right.
And
Well,
Because there's a time and a place, and the time and place is in the middle of a rally.
he.
Or in the middle
Well,
of a...
I
But
think
here's
the
the
thing.
problem.
Only he knows what he was doing that for.
Oh, sure,
right?
Sure, and now, even if he did mean it right in the comedic fashion, he won't even agree to that because that's what the media right is blasting him for.
I mean,
right?
even if he says I did it in a comedic fashion, it's gonna still rile
right. But
people on the left
the,
and all that. So I get that. It's still gonna rile people up.
He should be able to do whatever he wants in the middle of a rally because I think this is what goes back to everybody else is trying to dictate what the people wanted, and they all got it wrong except him. The people, this is all I'm saying was that I found it funny.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it if he wants to do it again. I didn't think he was, you know what? Fuck it. Even if he was mocking him. Sorry. Like, here's my issue with it. If he had no actual disability.
Yeah.
Right? Because now we can go back to the definition, right, of this dude, right, has a disability, but he has overcame it, and he's apparently a top journalist. I don't know. I haven't looked into his work.
Yeah.
But if he had no disability and he had a certain twitch or something about him, nobody would find it disrespectful. But everybody found it disrespectful just because it was a disability. That's what frustrates me. I'm trying to. I'm doing my best to win this case.
And I'll go back to the words that Jeremy said, and the words
Damn
that
it.
Jeremy said was poor taste. Whether or not it was wrong, it was poor taste. And
either way,
he didn't
you
need to
cut
do it,
it.
and he
I
would have
think
made
that
his
it was
point.
in poor taste.
Even if he didn't have,
He can
to
do whatever
that,
the hell he wants, and it can
Right.
still be in poor taste, and it can still be disparaging to the guy,
Right. But
even if he's describing him. Like that was the thing. Is like even if he was describing him.
But I don't know if this dude is this journalist. I don't know if he walks around like with his hands shaking. All right, as Trump was doing in this video, which then go on.
You can see up the video of the guy or a picture of the guy. He's always has his hands up like this because he has a legitimate disability.
Right. But yes, I mean Trump was doing more of a flailing movement,
Exaggerated version of it.
right? But what? If you go back and you listen to what Trump said at the exact moment that he is flailing his arms, right? He was his comment was something on the lines of, "I don't know if I should do this. I need to retract it," which is a sign of, right, from a journalist or somebody, right, of being scared, right? So what do?
You're panicking.
You're
Or confusion, panicking, and that's what I had said.
So if this journalist does not normally shake his hands, and even if he does, damn it, then Trump was just describing him to a T, which he should be happy that there was flattery. But if he doesn't shake his hands, if he's not shaking and flailing, then all he was trying to do was say like, I don't know. Oh my gosh, right? And here I am flailing
And
my
here's
arms because that's what people
he said.
do.
That's what he said he was doing, and I get that, right? But Trump can say whatever the hell he wants, and he could also not be telling the truth.
True.
You know? I mean, and this is the
True.
thing is he has a history of doing this even after that, right? If you're talking about Megyn Kelly and the blood coming out of her eyes and out of her wherever,
Hilarious.
and talking about the
That's what we wanted to hear.
it's. I mean, it again. I didn't think it hit. You thought it was funny, right? Comedy is subjective.
It very well is.
And then he was talking about the just recently with the reporter. He said she had plastic surgery, she's bleeding out of her face.
Also, yeah, funny.
Maybe
Just things that don't need to be said or done.
Well, we already established nothing was off limits.
nothing is off limits.
He's not-
Nothing
he's
is
also
off
not a
limits
comedian.
comedically.
He's a
Yeah,
politician,
that-
and he needs to set up.
And he
needs to
doesn't-
set
No,
a
he
certain-
says he's not a politician.
Well, he needs to set a certain standard.
I mean,
his
I
cues
don't
and
want to
what he
get
does.
into like a whole political presidential thing. Like he's the president, I get it, but I personally, this is my bottom line. I think that he should act a little bit more with some like dignity. That's all. That's my only thing. This dude's up at like 3 a.m. talking to nobodies on Twitter. On Twitter at 3 a.m. The president. With a capital dent. All right, let's get into some more comedy. Man.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go through some major milestones in the comedic realm. So I'm going to go through the main, I'll say, tagline of the piece.
Yeah.
You want me to expand on it? I will expand on it.
Sure.
If not, I'll just do a quick sum up and we'll move on.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1960, Bob Newhart brought clever comedy to the masses?
It's a good one.
Okay.
I like that one.
1961, just 1 year later, Dick Gregory made White People Listen.
So who was listening before
What
that?
is that? First of all, who's Dick Gregory? I don't know who that is.
Well, Dick Gregory is a comedian.
Oh God,
That made white people listen.
We can move on.
I will be honest here. I didn't look up everybody's like profile here, so I'm not. I presume that he must be a black individual.
You got white people to laugh at stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll go into the. Yeah, he's a black guy. Okay. Black man. I'm sorry. I don't mean anything disparaging by that. Everybody, I'm sorry.
That's what I had to assume.
Dude, that wasn't funny at all.
So basically, what he was able to do was he was able to take issues to the masses, and he would give sharp, unforgiving wit, and his integrated audience was a unique combination in the early 60s. I think we could all agree with that.
I think what's interesting about this guy, I just looked him up real quick, is he was also a civil rights activist back in the 60s.
So he's a comedian slash civil rights activist.
Comedian slash civil rights activist. I think that's super interesting.
Says
making white people listen.
Says that right here. Yeah, good job. Yeah. And one of the quotes in here, right, that the New York Times had stated was that he was able to do reasonably well-meaning, right, skits whose guilt at harboring prejudices can be temporarily suspended by laughing with him in the safety of the chic nightclubs.
So my question about that is, do you think comedy plays a really big role in politics and political topics?
Yeah, I think it's
social topics.
Yeah, heck yeah, I think it's a real like social.
And that could have been maybe one of the first examples of it. I don't know. I mean, probably not, but like maybe one of the first recent.
Yeah, I mean, you can think of a lot of people. Like we already talked about Louis C.K. I think that he talks a lot about like really important like social issues, right? So his most recent stand-up, you can watch it on Netflix, called 2017. Like the very first thing he talks about is abortion, and he has a really, really smart, funny way of talking about abortion. He says, he's like, either it's killing a baby or it's taking a shit. He's like, it's one or the other. It can't be anything else. It's either killing a baby or it's taking a shit. And if you're for abortion, then you think it's taking a shit. And it's super.
Yeah.
Dude, just watch it. It's really good.
No, I see that.
But that's just going into like talking about the like social stuff. You know, Richard Pryor was
really
another
closely
one.
Tied.
Yeah,
We see that we see that in a lot of the daily shows and a lot of the now in the mainstream news, they sometimes try to bring comedy into it a little bit, but like a lot of this pure comedy is just comes off as pure political nowadays. Like it's hard as the line in the sand is kind of really blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my only issue with having comedy mended together with politics is that you'll get sometimes the true facts or the actual stance of somebody then has now been lost within the satire of what's going on.
Sure.
I.e., Stephen Colbert.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the president was on.
It can get lost. Yeah, I can see how it can get lost. Like the actual point of it could get lost.
Well, right.
Or the fact that if he's wrong, it's not really brought up because of the fact there's nobody there to argue the point. And
the other thing is, it's because it's funny.
Yeah, they can.
Right?
If they can explain, it doesn't matter. It didn't have to be right because it was comedy.
Well,
correct.
I'm laughing at it, so it must be like, oh, that's very interesting. I'm laughing at it. It's very funny. That must be the right answer to this situation. Right.
And yes, and that's one of the biggest things that frustrates me about mending those two together. But I do think there is a place for it. I think you should be able to laugh at it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move up 17 years. So 1978, Steve Martin blurred the lines of stand-up and stupidity.
Yeah.
The Jerk?
What?
I don't know. Which
The Jerk, the movie The Jerk.
No, okay, that was probably in
he was
late 80s, early 90s. My bad.
He was a pretty prolific stand-up comedian, and he was just a very wacky guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can.
Well, he became a
watch some of his
superstar
old
with a
stuff.
wild and crazy guy.
Yeah, back in Saturday Night Live.
That's right. Yep. All right, 1980, Rodney Dangerfield melded stand-up with a shtick. That's S-H-T-I-C-K.
Yeah. Shtick.
Right, so having the routine.
I get no respect.
To go get
like that whole thing. Yeah.
I don't get no respect. Yep. Okay. He would end up kind of blazing the ways for individuals such as like Andrew Dice Clay, Larry the Cable Guy, so forth.
Jeff Foxworthy. They all have shticks. Like Larry the Cable Guy is like this southern redneck kind of dude, right? What's
So
interesting
it's like
is
a
you should look him
persona.
up on YouTube. He actually talks basically like I do. He's from like Wisconsin.
So it's like a persona they put off.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a different
exactly.
person that they are when they're on stage.
Exactly. If you think about Gilbert Gottfried,
Okay, yep.
check out. You can listen to him on YouTube. He doesn't sound anything like that in real life.
Really?
It's
Wow.
it's a shtick.
I
Yeah.
did not know that.
1982, Richard Pryor made comedy Confessional. Richard Pryor, I again believe he was another one of the black comedians, but he would go and detail certain stories about his life. But then he would later admit, like in the
Yeah.
bit, that like one of them wasn't was a suicide attempt. But right now, and it's bringing that confessional piece to it. Another one, you just mentioned him, Jeff Foxworthy. So in 1993, Jeff Foxworthy turned personal identity into comedy.
Yeah.
Redneck
So,
thing.
a la the retard journalist that we were just referencing, make your life into comedy, man. But that goes into, right, you might be a redneck if,
Yes.
1996, Chris Rock reignited comedy as social commentary.
Yeah.
Going into the normal things that happen with your life, and he's
Does that mean
talking.
bringing like sociopolitics into it? Like
fusing
issues?
fusing political theory with righteous anger and pure frustration.
So that was 96?
And 1996, and Chris Rock sitting, tired of this shit. Right? Yeah, I remember that. All right, in 2000, Margaret Cho made comedy on her own terms. Look, I had no idea who the fuck Margaret Cho
She's
was.
an Asian
Yeah, I've watched her. I've watched her a couple times. She's pretty funny.
Oh,
I
good.
don't know what that means by made it her own terms, so I don't know much about that topic.
Well, I think this is. So she ended up having a failure, which ended up being an addiction, and then she wanted to just having a one-woman show, and she reestablished herself as a comic uninterested in sacrificing even one iota of her personality for mainstream acceptance. So,
Like being
I
herself.
believe what it's saying. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're just gonna do it on your own.
Yeah.
So in 2006, I already mentioned this. Louis C.K. made comedy cathartic. Talking about your crumbling marriage, the stresses of fatherhood, and his 4-year-old being an asshole. So this unflinching approach.
Things
I
we
think
all
that's
deal with.
how that's okay. Like how that's okay because all of us deal with that stuff.
Yep.
Right? That's what makes you feel good is that empathy. That
I'm not the only one dealing with
I'm
this
not the only
problem.
one that's
So it may
fucking
stress me out, make me
in
upset, but
a
the fact
ton
that
of
we
debt
all
or
deal with
has 2 daughters that drive me up the wall.
it
Yeah,
seems fair.
exactly. And then in 2014, Mariah Bamford made comedy into therapy.
Maria Bamford. Yeah, Maria Bamford.
Is that not what I said?
You said Mariah.
Bamfrey.
Yeah, I guess there's no H on here. Maria.
Maria Bamford. Yeah, she's
never
been
heard of
doing
her.
it
Sorry,
for a while
Maria.
too. But she talks a lot about like her therapy that she's had.
So it makes
in the
it
past
therapeutic
and
for herself or for the people listening to her?
both.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, I get so much out of doing comedy.
never-
Oh my
okay.
gosh.
Well, yeah, I can see it, like you being up
It's,
there, you
like-
venting, you letting yourself go.
Dude, and you
Could
get
be-
those like releases of dopamine too. Like you just feel that high after the show,
But that had to have always been a thing, so I was curious, like, how did she redefine it? Or how did she change it? Just
I think it's more with like what she talks about
Yeah.
more than like just the general like comedy is therapeutic.
So
I'll check out her stuff.
Maria Bamford. So generally considered part of the alternative comedy scene, she rejected the conversational style of many of her peers, instead writing tight, carefully paced bits full of pitch-perfect impressions and facial expressions. Over time, this precision allowed her to write meaningful, thoughtful jokes about her own mental health that were both brilliantly hysterical and heartbreaking. That's why her self-released, the special,
Yeah.
recorded in her living room with only her parents in the audience,
I watched that.
works
Is that on,
so
like, Netflix?
brilliantly.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
doesn't need a huge audience
check
to
that
give
out.
her jokes the energy she needs. She does it all herself.
That's
Man,
pretty good.
So it's on
yeah.
Netflix then.
There's a lot of really good alt comics. I like the alt comic scene too. Like
And
for
by
instance,
all
like-
comic, what do you mean? Because I'm
like so
not sure.
so
Just
like,
like
let's,
really
yeah, so,
non-standard.
So let's talk about like back in like the 90s. It's like if you think about like Jerry Seinfeld, right?
Okay.
He's not an alt comic, right? He kind of does his jokes, and he's a genius comic, right? But he
Who
does
was this?
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he does his jokes like other comics would have done in his time period, right? Like, so he's like, so I went to the doctor yesterday, and he said, hey, you got something on your cheek or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
that whole like conversational tone that so comedians had back in the 90s and all that. Alt comics don't really do that, right? They just go out there and they just do.
And it's a pretty
comedy,
small
right?
niche then right now still.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think so.
Who's probably the biggest alt comic? Would it be her?
So, well,
Maria?
maybe her, Patton Oswalt.
Okay.
He's a really big alt comic. Brian Posehn, Blaine Capatch. Those two you might not know very well, right?
It's interesting to me. I've never heard of it. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Maybe like Kyle Kinane.
Okay.
He's an alt. Louis C.K. is definitely an alt comic because he doesn't have that conversational like.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes when you stand up
what's
there,
the
it's
deal
kind of,
with airline food? Like that kind of weird,
right.
like
Interesting.
yeah. So they just kind of talk and they have their own like, yeah, I guess.
Look, younger kids out there as well, because you just made me think of it. Go see Airplane.
Yeah, go see Airplane.
Rent
for
Airplane.
Sure.
Get it, because
Yeah.
you aren't going to find that humor anywhere else in today's society. That
you won't, and you won't find it because
it's taboo. It's taboo
because it's taboo, and also
Airplane was taboo?
that movie is timeless. Like the jokes,
Yeah.
whether you are
I didn't think it was
15
taboo.
or 50, the jokes hit.
Yes.
They're really, really good comedies.
What's that other series that Leslie Nelson
Naked
did?
Gun?
Naked Gun 3.5 or Naked Gun?
All of them, all the Naked Guns.
Yeah,
you know?
I saw all those. I saw
Or
Airplane too, but those were pretty hilarious.
The TV show he was on from the Files of Police Squad. That's the same kind of jokes that they had. Right.
Also,
Those
for you
very-
OJ fans, isn't OJ in that?
Yeah.
So you
is.
OJ fans, check it out.
Hit it. All right. So now, look, just like an airplane, we're going to get a new vector here, and then we're going to come into land. So we're going to take one more short break, and then we will come back and we will finish it off with a few other trivia pieces on some of the top grossing movies, top grossing comedians, some people that maybe all you individuals can relate to.
Kill it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how you do. I'll make sure that I take my answer sheet with me.
Better be multiple choice.
So, again, let us know what we got right, what we got wrong. If you want to say anything to Jeremy, who's our comedian expert here, you can find him at JER Breedlove. So JERBREEDLOVE. So you can find him up on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at ViewsandFacts. Sean is a loner. You're going to have to find him by some other way because he does not want to divulge that information out. You can find us on Facebook.
You can find his wart pretty easily though, because this thing is giant.
That's true. It does have its own zip code, and we will announce the zip code.
Maybe it's on Twitter page here soon.
Yeah. We're gonna announce the zip code at the end of the show. So again, take this time to go catch your breath. Hopefully, you've been laughing, you've been enjoying some of the history and the milestones of comedy. And again, we will be back to close it out.